During my time at MIT, I encountered some of the most brilliant students I had ever met. Science fair winners, Olympiad medalists, and even startup founders. I knew this one kid who had not one, not two, but 3 IMO gold medals. I also remember meeting someone my freshman fall who built a car sharing app that raised $40 million. He ended up selling it to a car manufacturer for an absurd amount of money. Kids like these were intimidating yet inspiring, because they had the wildest accomplishments on top of a stellar academic record. During my time in college, I spent a lot of time with these students because we were in the same classes, in the same clubs, and even the same dorms. And slowly, I began to piece together why these students were so successful. Today, I've written down and will cover 5 of these traits, so hopefully you can learn what it takes to become a top 1% student. Alright, starting off with trait number 1, they're mission driven. Now, if you're in high school, I don't expect you to know your life's calling or to know what career you want to pursue after college. But I think the most successful students are on some sort of mission. Whether it's an academic area they want to dive into, a social cause they want to advocate for, or a sport they want to get really good at. More often than not, this mission relates to what these students end up doing in college, but it doesn't always have to. Early on in high school, they simply choose something and give it everything they have. The problem that most students face, however, is that they don't know what their mission should be. Either they have too many options, for example, they might be into debate, clarinet, environmental justice, and basketball, or they might have the opposite problem and have nothing to choose from. If you have too many options, my advice is to lean into the activity or pursuit where you have a natural advantage. Because if you look closely at the top 1% of students, chances are they had a natural advantage at whatever they succeeded at. On the one end, I'll be honest, some of these advantages are really unfair. For example, some of these students who win science fairs have parents who are literal PhDs. On the other end, you also have students who had no advantages. They had nothing handed to them and had to do everything themselves. However, most students fall in the middle. For example, if you're into environmental justice and your school has a community garden, a bird watching club, and offers AP environmental science, you should capitalize on these natural advantages. They might not be the craziest advantages, but they position you to dive into your mission. But then let's say you're also into basketball. You enjoy it, but maybe you're not super athletic. And on top of that, maybe your basketball coach isn't the best. This is where you might lack that natural advantage. That doesn't mean you shouldn't play basketball, however. All I'm saying is devote most of your time to A, the things you enjoy, and B, the things you're naturally positioned to go far in. Okay, but what if you don't have any options? Simple. Write down a list of things that you like. And they don't have to be academic subjects, and they don't have to be extracurricular activities. Just think about that one thing you could talk about hours for. It doesn't matter if it's K-pop, it doesn't matter if it's building PCs, it doesn't matter if it's the Hunger Games. Now take that topic and see how you can transform it into something bigger. For example, could that love of K-pop turn into a research study? Could that love of building PCs turn into a small business? Could that love of movies turn into a YouTube channel where you post video essays? Alright, moving on to trait number 2. They find mentors. Most top students, no matter how smart, realize they don't know everything. So they seek guidance when it comes to doing a research project, starting a business, training for an Olympiad. And many of them do so by sending cold emails, which is where the sponsor of this video comes in, Magical. Magical is a free productivity Chrome extension that'll help you automate repetitive tasks like writing emails and moving data around. Before I show you how to use it for cold emails, let's run through some basics. You have AI reply, which you can use to respond to messages with one click depending on the context. You can also use templates, which can allow you to expand trigger words into full-blown messages. This saves time while still personalizing each email. And then you have transfers, which can allow you to take data from your open tabs and transfer them to a spreadsheet. For cold emails, you're going to use the templates and the transfer features. First, we'll open up the LinkedIn profiles of the people we want to contact. Automatically, Magical parses the data on the page. Then to do the transfer, we're going to open a Magical, click on Transfer To, hit New Spreadsheet, and then click on All tabs. And just like magic, no pun intended, we have a spreadsheet with all the information. This is a great way to keep track of who you want to reach out to and the status of each one. Now to find their emails, go to their LinkedIn profile and click on Magical's Enrich feature, which will retrieve their email and phone number. Then we're going to head to the Magical workspace, create a new template, and write up a cold email while adding placeholders for key information. And finally, in Gmail, all we have to do is use our template trigger and fill in the placeholders to finish off our cold email. Download Magical for free to start saving time so you can work smarter and not harder. Go to getmagical.com or use the link in the description. Thanks again to Magical AI for sponsoring today's video. Okay, but why is cold emailing effective? Because from what I've experienced firsthand, many successful adults want to help young people succeed. Many of the most successful artists, entrepreneurs, and even scientists that you can think of probably had a mentor at some point in their life. The best students, in my opinion, understand this fact and will reach out to people to seek help or opportunities. For example, if these students want experience in the film industry, they're gonna throw together a small portfolio and cold email directors and producers. If they want to start a business, they might reach out to successful entrepreneurs. Or if they want to become writers, they might even email professional authors for guidance. This seems crazy, but they don't care. And they know they probably won't get any responses, but again, they don't care. They know that all they need is that one response to unlock a whole array of opportunities. Trait number 3, they think outside the box. Okay, so the 3 examples I went over earlier, a research study about K-pop, a PC building business, and a YouTube channel about movies. These all sound kinda weird, right? But the most successful students, in my opinion, are doing the things that seem a little unusual. And look, as I went over in my 7 lessons video, you have to embrace your weird side. Because your weirdness or your quirks, in other words, what makes you unique, is what will make you successful. Top students don't care about what's normal. They don't care about what's appropriate for their age. They simply want to pursue their mission in the deepest and most meaningful way possible. And these are the kids who end up winning awards for their work or stand out to admissions officers. Let me give you a popular example that's sort of been the trend lately, doing research. Now, quick context for those who don't know, there are some students who will pick an academic area, choose a topic to investigate, and end up publishing a research paper. And this is usually in collaboration with a college professor. When I was in high school, research was an emerging trend, and it sounded kind of weird. But the students who were doing it, and were doing it well, were getting into top colleges. These students thought outside the box, because think about it. What high school student in their right mind does college-level research at 15, 16, or 17 years old? But it was a way for them to dive deep into an area they love, and more importantly, showcase intellectual vitality and curiosity, which are characteristics colleges love. Okay, so here's how you can think outside the box. Take your mission and ask yourself, how can I pursue this in a way that other students aren't? I want you to question what you think is possible. Think beyond the clubs at your school. Think beyond what people deem appropriate for your age. For example, if you're into movies, could you help direct a short film? If you're into AI or technology, could you build a web application? Or here's a crazy one, if you're into geography, could you help a professional cartographer draw maps? Now you might be saying, Gohar, these ideas sound super unrealistic. And to that I say, you're right. As you think outside the box, you will come up with impossible ideas. And if some of these ideas seem genuinely impossible, just let them go. But then also question if some of these things are really as hard as you think they are. For example, founding a startup, yeah, that's kinda nuts. It's possible, but it's nuts. Helping direct a short film, well, it depends on the film, but in theory it's possible. But what about helping a professional cartographer draw maps? Now this one might seem super random, but the reason I mention it is because I talked to a student recently who actually did it. And getting the opportunity wasn't as hard as you might think. It started with a simple cold email. Alright, moving on to trait number 4. Top students see the bigger picture. Okay, so top students aren't cold emailing every successful person from every industry. They're carefully picking and choosing who they reach out to and for what. They're shaping their resume and accomplishments to align both with their personality and their core mission. And to illustrate this point, I want to introduce you to 3 hypothetical students. First, we have John. Here are his 5 activities. Then we have Emily. Here are her 5 activities. And then we have Bob. Here are his 5 activities. I want you to pause and compare these 3 different lists. I think students like Emily are able to see the bigger picture and realize that while yes, it's important to have a mission, it's also important to showcase personality. Her list has a nice balance, and although we can tell she's super passionate about the environment, we can also tell there's more to her. And this slight variety might make her seem more interesting to a college admissions officer, to a scholarship committee, or even to a potential employer. John's list is a bit more one-dimensional, and Bob's list is kind of all over the place. Look, there's nothing inherently wrong with John's list or Bob's list. Students like John and Bob also get into top colleges, win scholarships, and land jobs. But yes, I do think Emily's list is the most appealing, which should actually be reassuring. Her list proves that in order to showcase your passion and stand out, Every single one of your activities doesn't have to be about your mission. I suggest that you pursue a handful of things that center around your mission, but then also do a few things that you genuinely love. Trait number 5, top students are effective communicators. Now, you could have the most impressive activities list in the world, but if you can't talk about them in a way that's clear and compelling, you might struggle to stand out to a college or a potential employer. I find that the most successful students are able to move people with their words. For example, think about running for a leadership position. That speech needs to convince your peers that you are the best one for the job. Think about a job interview. You need to show a potential employer that you have the skills and attributes necessary for that position. And think about the college admissions process. You need to show colleges that you are a great fit for their school. I'm here to tell you that effective communication is a skill that you can practice, and it's something that each and every one of you watching this has the ability to master, even if you're introverted. Effective communication ultimately boils down to 2 questions. Who is your audience and what are you trying to accomplish? And I think as a student, most of the time you're trying to convince someone older than you that you possess certain attributes. The skill that you really have to master at the end of the day is storytelling. At some point in your academic career, you'll probably have to tell a story about a time you showcased maturity, leadership, initiative, compassion, teamwork. Unfortunately, this won't be the video where I break that down because that's a whole nother discussion, but I might write about it in my newsletter, so be sure to sign up for it. The link is in the description. Alright guys, and with that, we have wrapped up today's video. Please let me know what you think about these videos where I talk more about life philosophies and principles rather than study tips. These sorts of videos are pretty fun to make. And with that, I will see you again next